Alrighty, what's up everybody? Jonathan here with Boston Collectors, and in today's video, is it worth the price? The 501st Legion Clone Trooper, and yeah, I kind of hung on that Legion part a little bit. We'll talk about that shortly. For now though, it has been a hot minute since we've done a video like this, and we're planning to get back into the groove of things. You know, my wife and I, we both started renovating our offices, so we're finally, the dust is settling. All right. Stay tuned for our room tours, our collection tours. It's going to be on the way very, very shortly. Definitely before the year is out. Now, before we really start diving into the 501st Legion Clone Trooper here, I want to let you all know that we do plan to have this updated through easily digestible content over on Instagram. So for those of you who may not be aware of 6-scale notables, that's where we take the content announced throughout the week and we just sort of throw it into this carousel form for you all to digest a little bit easily. Getting back to the 501st Legion Clone Trooper though. So $230. Hot Toys went ahead and announced this on Tuesday, November 22nd at 12:42 a.m. and that's Eastern Standard Time. Now, before we really start diving into the photos and everything that they have here, I want to jump back on over here to Sideshow. $230. Ugh. So for a lot of collectors like myself, we saw the previous version of the 501st Battalion Clone Trooper for $220. Granted, this one actually came with quite a bit more items here. We got the rocket launcher, we got the whole detonator with the sticky detonator as well, and a few extra hands, including a jetpack and the jetpack effects. Now, when you throw in $220 in comparison to $230 with items that you don't really get from the 501st Battalion Clone Trooper, it kind of make you go, But granted, this is a totally different era right now. We're looking at a figure that is on wait list and sold out in a lot of different areas versus a brand new figure, and it is a brand new figure. Now, the 501st Legion Clone Trooper is different from the 501st Battalion because the Battalion Clone Trooper served under the Grand Republic. The Legion, the 501st Legion Clone Trooper that is, served under the Empire. So these are two totally different eras of clone troopers. Even if they were part of the 501st Battalion yesterday, that was yesterday's news, all right? So with this particular release, we have the NRD set for $23 flat, and we only have a max number of payments set for 4. Those will start as early as July 25th of 2023. Don't forget to apply that payment plan before you pre-order. I've been there before. Trust me, you don't want to be there either. The expected to ship date is between October of 2023 and March 2024. Again, we'll start diving into those photos very soon. For now, we're going to go ahead and dive into what's in the box though. So we have the authentic and detailed likeness of the 501st Legion Clone Trooper from the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. We also have 6 pieces of interchangeable glove hands, including 1 pair of relaxed hands, 1 pair of hands for holding the weapons, which are the trigger fingers, 1 right fist, random, and 1 open left hand. Now that open left hand is typically the gesturing hand. As for the costume, we have the typical armor with the weathering effects, we have the white belt, all of the things that we see in the photo pretty much. As for weapons, we have the heavy blaster and we have a blaster pistol. Now, this isn't to be confused with the actual blaster pistol that we've seen on figures like Rex. This is supposedly the blaster pistol that they're referencing, which is more like a light blaster, if you will, or a carbine rifle versus a heavy rifle or a heavy blaster. They consider that a blaster pistol for whatever reason. Next, we have the accessories, which is 1 thermal detonator and 1 Star Wars themed base with the character name. Now, before we start diving into the photos, keep that price in mind. $230. Let's go ahead and jump on over to Facebook. So before we dive into the photos, I think it's important to note what we have here in the description because I think they might try to slide in a couple of interesting tidbits. Led by Captain Rex, the 501st Legion is a tight-knit squadron of clone troopers known for strength of character and unwavering loyalty. However, when they received the treacherous Order 66 from Palpatine, they assisted Darth Vader in hunting down all Jedi present at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Now, without really diving into the photos, we see what we have here, right? I did find it interesting that they coined him Darth Vader because, you know, you're thinking it too. Technically, he was Darth Vader, right? He was Lord Vader. They could definitely reissue this particular version of Anakin, which he didn't really kill off Anakin just yet. For you lore heads, you know what I'm talking about. Check out the comics. But they could call this Darth Vader or Lord Vader if they wanted to, which makes me think that they're going to reissue it under a totally different name. Now, I do think that it's interesting that they said this Legion is led by Captain Rex when it's the 501st Legion now versus the 501st Battalion. He's also over there with the 332nd, but again, that's diving a little bit too much into particulars, and I'm not exactly trying to go there right now. So diving into the photos though, I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was interesting that they coined him Darth Vader when we know this is Side Anakin through Hot Toys. Jumping straight into the photos, here we have the 501st Legion clone trooper as seen in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, again, I know it's like, man, you just keep saying before we dive into the photos, I want to bring something to your attention. So the 501st Legion actually showed up in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. This is a costuming group where there are garrisons and parties all over the world who dress up in these film-accurate costumes. So they were invited out to participate in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. You can see them here. You have 4 clone troopers here dressed up. They have their outfits on, their costumes, and this is them on the set, right? You also have another photo with Hayden Christensen in the 501st Legion as well. So keep these costumes in mind. If we look here, we can sort of see a slight gap. We see that teal blue sort of appearance, a shiny layer of paint, if you will, across all of them. Not only this photo, but the other photo here as well. So keep this in mind as we start to continue through the photos. I'll also link this article in the description down below for those of you who would like to check it out. Very good read. And now we get to go and check out the photos. Right out of the gate, I think we noticed that the blaster rifle here is definitely a different model, different make, if you will. Again, as seen in Obi-Wan Kenobi, this isn't necessarily supposed to be indicative of what we've seen from the Clone Wars, even though it's butted up right against it. It's just the armor being changed and the paint job is a little different, which is kind of strange to me, but they're going based off of the accuracy of the show. We can't really, that's not on them to get it right, because it's a Disney thing. So there are also noticeable changes here. You have the opening there in the armor piece. Obviously, we have that high gloss shine going on. We have what looks like more of a high gloss shine to the gloves. The hands look a little bit cleaner than the rest of the armor, which is kind of interesting to me. Since we're here, we're going to go ahead and get it out of the way. Side Anakin, I don't know, man. It's been 4 years since we've seen Side Anakin. Before I give my opinion, let me know what you all think. Go ahead and pause the video. I don't want to necessarily change how you feel about Side Anakin being reissued. Go ahead and pause the video and jump back over here when you're free. Now, Side Anakin was already very difficult to get. For those of you who were on the forums back then and you really voiced your opinion on collectors not being able to pick him up because he was at the Toy Fair convention and he was strictly available for people who were there, thank you, because you're the reason that I have him in my collection today. So because of that, I can't say that they should never reissue that version of Anakin, but at the same time, I feel like it's almost slightly too soon. I don't think Hot Toys necessarily look at the market and say this figure is going crazy. It's almost $900 or whatever the price may be. We have to reissue another one to level the market out. I don't think Hot Toys care about the market. Now, for the people who are excited for this, I'm excited for you, but I still think that it's slightly too soon. And technically, we never saw this version of Anakin in the Obi-Wan series. We never saw this apart from the flashback in the beginning, which was from Revenge of the Sith. So if they reissue it, it couldn't be under Kenobi, unless of course he didn't have the Sith eyes. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. I'm not necessarily mad that this is them referencing a reissue, because again, there are people who really want this figure, even though he sat for a while and out of nowhere became a community grail piece, which is still somewhat odd to me that he's so sought after. Again, I picked this order up relatively early when Sideshow jumped on those pre-orders being available to us. I got him relatively early, and he still sat on Sideshow for that long. I want to say a little over a year, in fact. And then when he was gone, he just kind of became this sought-after piece for a lot of collectors. Don't get me wrong, though, it's a great piece, but the only difference is the portrait, and the paint job slightly different on the hands because it's a pale sort of texture to it. Apart from that, it's the exact same thing as the light side Anakin. But I get it, it's a totally different appearance of Anakin, and he's got the Sith eyes, he's enraged. I totally get it, but I don't know. I'm over here and then I'm over there and then I'm in the middle. But I'm more in the middle, if that makes sense. Anyway, I digress. For collectors who are happy to see this, I'm happy for you. I have him already. I don't plan on picking this up. In fact, I plan on waiting until other sites like Toy Anxiety or Monkey Depot pick this figure up so that I can buy the other pieces to this outfit so that I can make my custom. One thing that I do want to note though, and I shared this in our community Discord server. So my Dark Side Anakin has a gold switch, and for some reason this one has a red switch. I don't know if this was temporary because maybe it's placeholder, maybe they just said this is a different version so he doesn't have the gold switch. But for those of you who happen to have Dark Side Anakin, run to your collection and check that saber because it is a gold switch versus this one being red. Now again, this could be a prototype. These things change after production, etc., etc. We know how this goes. But as we look at the photo here all together, the troopers and Anakin, they look phenomenal. This looked like it's pulled straight from the series. And there's not much of a difference here between this release and the previous Dark Side release. Apart from the brown colors, this brown on the pants looks slightly lighter to me, but it could be color grading as well. Anyway, back to the 501st Legion Trooper. Now, this is a figure that I don't think I'm going to be picking up. If I do, it's probably going to be for the channel. For those of you who would like to see the differences, maybe you'd like to see it more in video format versus the photo format that we're going to see here shortly. But they're so different from the clone troopers that were previously released that they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. But you know that there are collectors who really wanted this particular version of the 501st because they wanted that film accurate or show accurate approach versus what we have here, which is more of a matted appearance, more of a dull look. Slightly animated even, if you will. But as we go back to Sideshow, now we get to see the differences. So you have a bit of a not even necessarily beefy, because I feel like it's ever so slight. It just has it's got more of a human approach to it versus what feels like animation to me. Because if you think about it, how exactly are the clones getting this breastplate on? You kind of have to do something like this. You need that gap, right? Maybe there's something inside. Who knows? It's Star Wars magic that'll clip that together. Obviously, you have the differences here on the gloved hands. So it's slightly offset versus being a little bit more centered there. Again, the communication area that we talked about earlier, slightly different. We also have a difference here in the knee guards as well, which is a gray strip. It's not present here. The feet also look a little bit different. The abdomen region, which is more on the side of a stormtrooper, in my opinion, versus what we have here. The helmet is slightly different as well. We have the ear cups, which is, again, it's not really that much of a difference, but it still, those little tiny things add up. We have a bigger shoulder piece as well on the original release versus what we have here on the left. And then as we move to the back, these are just very obvious differences in my opinion. You have the back piece, you have the line which is darker there on the helmet. There are differences, and it's just really up to us as collectors to figure out if we like what we have already versus what they're trying to release. And honestly, as much as I love the 501st, I'm quite fatigued. I am fatigued out of my mind with 501st right now. I wish that this were more of a 212th release or a whole different battalion. Personally, the 212th, since we have Cody. Listen, I'm happy for the people who really want this 501st Legion clone trooper. Shout out to the 501st costuming party, because I think if anything, I would be excited that this is a depiction of my costume personally. So shout out to them. I will hope if I were in it, I'm definitely picking one up. It's like a mini me, right? Anyway, as we move on here, we're at the final page with the accessories. This is what we have. I'm not saying they're wrong for it. I'm not saying I'm excited, but I'm not saying that I'm disappointed either, because it's what we saw in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. We have a couple of hands. We have one fist. I mean, I guess that's better than having none, because we didn't get that with this particular release of the Clone Trooper. We didn't get a fist with this one, but we have it with this one. So you have to give a point for that. Even though you don't have as many hands as that particular release, you have the important ones. You have your trigger hands, you have your relaxed hands, you have a fist, and you have a gesturing hand. And those are pretty important, even though they should all come in pairs. Now for $230, keep in mind though, we have figures previously released. 501st Battalion Clone Trooper here, $220. The 332nd at $250. The paint jobs are vastly different from each other. Are you willing to put this figure next to the previous releases and say they're from the same battalion? Technically, while they are from the 501st, again, keep in mind the eras here. You have the Republic and the Empire. You can't really do it, if that makes sense. But at the same time, if you wanted to, you still couldn't do it. This release is so specific to the audience that really appreciate film accuracy or show accuracy or whatever the case might be, and wanting to really recreate a scene that they love so much, such as this one or what we see here. So for those of you who are happy, I'm very happy for you. I'm going to say for $230 though, that this isn't worth it for me. However, I understand that there are collectors out there who are very happy, very excited. And again, if I were from the 501st Legion costuming group, I'd be very happy as well. But this one isn't for me. He's just going to look very odd in my collection. I have the 501st that I want, and I don't see them necessarily creating other 501st types for this figure, such as the ARF Trooper or such as the ARC Trooper. I don't see those happening. So with that in mind, I'm going to say at $230, it's a pass for me. It's not worth it to me. If it's worth it to you, let us know down below. This is Jonathan with Boston Collectors. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Share your thoughts with us down below. I'd like to know your take on this and if you feel like it's worth it, or if you're going to end up picking it up because you like the film accurate approach. Stay tuned for our room tours. That's coming very soon. Definitely before the year is out. As always, if you like it, we love it. This is Jonathan with Boston Collectors, and we'll catch you on the flippity flop.